Yes, everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is how to beat Southampton. Now, all you muppets who reply to the title, oh, how'd you beat? Basically, it's a tactical preview. It's a tactical preview where we look at the strengths and weaknesses of the oppositions and how United might be able to match up against them. And I'm going to be honest, we're fucking dope. And you know we're dope. That's why you're here. Here's what we're doing then. We are going to be looking at Southampton, what they've changed over the summer, how Howson has them lined up, what happened last week, and how United are going to cut about them then this weekend. So let's start with situational overview. What have they done? Who's the ins and who's the outs? Are they better or are they worse off than they were last season? I think they're just about worse off. I think losing Vestergaard, probably their best centre-half, is a massive issue for them. And that's going to be a struggle for them to replace. They lost Danny Ings, which I think is the headline move, but I actually think they've made a real astute signing in Adam Armstrong, and we'll talk about him a little bit later on. But they've had Theo Walcott come in on a free, or return, I would say, back to Southampton on a free. They've had Perot come in from Brest for 10.3 million. They've had Simiyu coming in from Chelsea for 1.5, and also Livramento coming in from Chelsea for 5 million, and Adam Armstrong, their big money signing, if you can call it that, for 15 million from Blackburn. They've lost Bertrand to Leicester on a free, Lamina to Nice for an undisclosed amount, Danny Ings, obviously the headline one, going to Aston Villa for 25 million, and also Vestergaard going to Leicester for 15 million pounds. They had a mediocre season last season. They finished 15th. They did win 3 out of 4 of their preseason games, but again, what does that mean? They did lose their opening game 3-1 after scoring first against Everton last weekend. So 15th, I think if they manage to come 15th again, they probably, if you offered them that, I think they're taking that at the moment, because they could be a team that's likely to go down. I just remember, I've not done a full table prediction yet, but I think Southampton are in the bottom 5. Whether they've got enough to stay up, it depends. There could be some teams that come into the league this year and just have an absolute stinker, but they might have run their course out and could see themselves dropped out, especially when you've got someone like Howson who is so committed to playing a system that he plays to a fault. Now, he's nicknamed the Alpine Klopp, and it's not for no reason. He likes to press aggressively, really high up the pitch. They kind of focus on winning the ball back as quickly as possible. The teams play with a real urgency and a real drive, and it's fast-paced and tempo, and they try and keep that for 90 minutes, but they do burn out. They're not quite at Liverpool. Well, they're really not at Liverpool's level to do this. They don't have the same sort of personnel, and to a fault, you've seen them rack up some bad scores. Whether in attack, they try and create chances within seconds of regaining possession, gegenpressing. They like the high-risk play that results in some high-scoring games, but also some very high-scoring defeats, as they found out at the hands of United last year. Hasenhüttl seems to stick with, unlike Klopp, who goes heavily for the 4-3-3 and really pushes it out to the fullbacks to sort of create chances and blast balls, spam balls into the box almost. Hasenhüttl goes quite often with the 4-2-2 formation, and occasionally that looks like a 4-4-2, certainly when they're out of possession, which is what they used against Everton on opening day last week. He is known to adapt to the opposition at times, so sometimes you might see him move around, but he does have quite rigid philosophy in terms of how he's going to want to see his team played. Starting 11 that I expect Southampton to line up with would be McCarthy in net, Walker-Peters, Stevens, Sysau and Perot in defence. Midfield, a double 2 or a flat 4 of Walcott, Ward-Prowse, Romeu and Ginepro, and then Adams and Armstrong up front. Now, on Armstrong, let's have a little bit about him. Some of you might not be aware. Obviously, they brought him in from Blackburn last season, and he's actually a very good player. He's the star man. He's the one that I think is going to hurt United this weekend, or be the one that could hurt United this weekend. He got 28 goals and 5 assists in 40 appearances last season for Blackburn, 33 goal involvements in 40 games, pretty good. Scored on his opening debut last week against Everton. He's elusive. He's got phenomenal movement. He's a little bit of a poacher. His stature, he's listed as 5'6". I don't know if he is 5'6". Might be about more like 5'8". Like Angel Gomez is listed as like 5'3", and he's not. Like, I think sometimes the internet gets people's heights wrong, but he's listed as 5'6". He's got quite big legs. So it puts him in sort of like the sort of body shape that Aguero's got. And he's got good lateral movement. He can go off either foot. He manages to get quite a few headers as well. And in the Championship, winning headers when you're this big, on me this big as well, because that's about how big my dad is, that's impressive. So his movement is elite. And his finishing's pretty good. And if he ends up getting a goal from the penalty spot, it's a goal. He's absolutely phenomenal from the penalty spot. His finishing's very good. He's quick. He seems to find himself behind the defence quite often, which might suit what our Southampton are going to play. Loves to play off the shoulder. He can also play with a partner, which might suit him in the 2-2 that you see Howson will go for. He's got a good link-up and 5 assists, being the front man in a Blackburn team that wasn't exactly setting the world alight last year. Just shows you how good he is. This could be a real astute signing for Southampton, and for 50 million, not even that bad a price, to be honest. Let's have a look at the data then for Southampton last season. Now, they're not that direct a team. He likes to play the ball on the floor, and they were ranked second to last in terms of long balls attempted. So even though they like to gegenpress, the manner in which they do that is completely different to Jurgen Klopp's. And I can't imagine bringing in a 5'6" centre forward in Adam Armstrong is going to change their reluctance to play long balls. They ranked 8th in terms of possession, which puts them bang into the top half with 52.2%. Averaging more possession than even Tottenham last season, and a 78.7% pass completion, which is the 13th in the league, which suggests that something's breaking down just a little bit somewhere for them to get them in the bottom half of the league. Now, they ranked dead last season in terms of crosses attempted with 315, which shows you that because they're so narrow in their attack, so sort of centralised, they're not looking to push wide and get crosses in, and even when they're looking to maybe add some width with their fullbacks, the fullbacks aren't getting into the final third to be able to put those crosses into the box. Now, the difference is Danny Ings had a fantastic season. They outscored their XG by 5 goals last season, and that, I think, was largely down to Danny Ings, who was obviously no longer part of the squad. I think in Armstrong, they've got quite a good replacement for him. Whether or not, I mean, he obviously doesn't have the Premier League experience that Danny Ings has got. If he's able to find the net, as he's proved last week against Everton, frequently then they won't miss him. But only Tottenham and United had a better shot on target percentage than Southampton last season, which shows that they're capable of creating good goal-scoring opportunities, high-value goal-scoring opportunities, which means that they've got the players that can hit the target and they can work it into those areas as well. So even though that there's some flaws, and there are definitely big gaping flaws in how they play, they've also got some real positive things. And the one which did us last season is obviously James Ward-Prowse. No fouls in the final third can be given away with him. No one was more accurate from set pieces, with whether it's shots at goal or deliveries into the box last season than James Ward-Prowse. So that is their major asset that I think that you have to watch out for when you're playing them. Can't give away free kicks in the final third because he will either bang one on target or stick it on someone's head for them to stick it on target. That's a major way that they go and win football matches. So you've got to just completely take the legs out from underneath them and just stay on your feet. Stay on your feet, block, and make them pass it inside. Don't get caught out of position. Try not to go to ground and try not to give away stupid free kicks for nonsense. The starting 11 that I will go with then for United is as follows. I think David De Gea in net. I don't think we're going to be changing goalkeeper as frequently as we saw last season. So unless he makes some mistakes, I think it's probably going to be De Gea in for the time being. Wan-Bissaka, I am going to put Varane in, more out of hope than expectation. But I think this would be a great game to introduce him. Again, it'd be interesting to see how he manages to cope with Armstrong. The movement of him is definitely going to put him under pressure, but I think he's more than capable enough of dealing with him. Alongside Maguire, also the height of both of them gives us a bit more presence for the set pieces that we're likely to see with James Ward-Prowse as well. Luke Shaw, and we're going to be looking for him to be the main attacking outlet down the left-hand side. And I've gone with McTominay and Donny van der Beek. I think Van der Beek needs to play more often. I thought he was excellent at Southampton away last season. It was the real standout performance of last season. And I think one of the reasons for that is he's quite a press-resistant player. He's very technical and he's very calm in possession. And I think McTominay can perhaps be the little bit more legs and runner. and Donny van der Beek alongside him as part of that pivot. Obviously, Bruno in the 10. Pogba, as I mentioned earlier, coming in off that left-hand side, almost making it a diamond in the midfield. Sancho on the right-hand side, who will be the main attacking outlet going forward, that I'm expecting to just run at people, and then Mason Greenwood down the middle. I'm not sure on the availability yet of Cavani. Otherwise, Cavani would be my first choice, and we'd bring Mason in. I don't know what the script is with both Varane or Sancho yet in terms of match fitness, but you can't just not play them. You're going to have to give them minutes to get them match fit, and I think this is the opportunity that you go on and do that. So how do United beat these? Again, this is relatively straightforward in this sense. They're revamped in terms of their new defence. We no idea yet if they're going to be able to match and cover up for what they've lost when they've lost Vestergaard. I think he was their best defender. They've now lost him to Leicester. So you've got to get in there early, unsettle them, attack them early, attack them often. And because they play the narrow 4-2-2, I think you've got to go wide. Utilise the width, look for the overlaps on the fullbacks, push out with your wingers, and just try and overload these guys. And just create opportunities in space. I'm going to keep Paul Pogba on the left wing. I think he was sensational there last week. And I like what he brings to the party from that side. I also think that you can probably, if you play Paul Pogba on the left wing, his natural tendencies to going to be drifting around, looking to get in on the ball. That means that you can have Pogba, you can have Bruno, and you can probably also have either Fred or McTominay in and around Ward-Prowse and Romeo as a central midfield pairing, which means that you've just completely outnumbered them in midfield. If their wingers like to narrow off and condense in the middle, then you just go wide again, and if you can throw a blanket over them in midfield, you just avoid that area and you go around it. And United are capable of doing that. We have better players all over the pitch. United need to get our match winners onto the ball, start fast, because Southampton do have a tendency to sort of charge around the pitch a little bit, allow it. Play delayed passes, look for the space, look for the overloads, look for the gaps that will appear in between as they're dragged out of position, take the momentum and confidence from the Leeds game and go and get the 3 points this weekend. Predictions-wise, I think United can win this game, and I think we could also rack up a couple of goals because Southampton have got a habit of doing that. The issue is, do we keep a clean sheet? I think if we keep a clean sheet, I'll be very, very impressed, and I'll be very happy coming away from that. But this is going to be 3 points for United, and I would think 2 or 3-0 or 3-1, somewhere in that sort of ballpark range. Or they might shock us like they did last week and just get an absolute roll on, very similar to what we did against Leeds. These sort of teams that come and press high often suit how we play, and if Pogba has a game like he has last weekend, Greenwood's going to score some goals. I think Jadon Sancho gets off the mark with his first United goal as well. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see you after the game for the review. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.